Have you ever really, and I mean really, stopped to think about the journey your food takes to get to your plate? It's actually this epic story, right? A mix of thousands of years of human wisdom and some seriously cutting-edge technology. So, let's pull back the curtain and uncover the amazing process behind every single meal we eat. But before we get into all the house, let's start with maybe the most basic question of all. It's one we almost never stop to ask. Why do we even have to eat in the first place?
The short answer, it really all comes down to one simple thing: energy. Food is literally the fuel that powers our bodies. Everything from the automatic act of breathing to trying to solve a tricky puzzle, none of it happens without that fuel. Okay, so it's not just about fueling one person, right? It's about fueling, well, everyone. Since every single one of us needs to eat to survive, that brings up a massive question. How on earth do we manage to feed billions of people all around the world?
And that question, that's really the heart of the challenge. Because feeding billions of people requires this incredible system for regular production, proper management, and of course, widespread distribution. It's a massive logistical puzzle. So where do we even begin to solve that puzzle? Well, the solution really started taking shape about 12,000 years ago with the invention of agriculture. And to understand it, we've got to start with the basics, our crops. So what exactly is a crop? I mean, it's not just a few tomato plants in your backyard garden. The key phrase here is large scale. A crop of wheat, for example, means an entire field, maybe hundreds of acres, dedicated to growing just that one plant. It's all about organized, massive cultivation.
But here's the thing. You can't just grow any crop anytime you want. Farming is completely dictated by the seasons. In a huge and diverse country like India, this breaks down into two main patterns. You've got Kharif crops, which are sown in the rainy season and need a ton of water, and then you have Rabi crops, which are grown during the cooler, drier winter months.
All right, so now that we know what crops are and when they grow, let's actually follow their journey from the very beginning, starting with just one tiny seed and watching it become a flourishing plant. This whole amazing process pretty much breaks down into 7 key steps. Think of this as our roadmap for the journey ahead. We're going to walk through each one, from getting the soil ready all the way to putting the final harvest into storage. First up, preparing the soil. Now, before you can even think about planting anything, the soil has to be turned and loosened up. This is absolutely critical because it lets the plant's roots dig down deep, breathe, and soak up all the crucial water and nutrients they need. And right here in this very first step, you can see this huge leap in technology. On the left, you've got the traditional method, a plow pulled by bulls. This technique is literally centuries old. But on the right, you've got a modern tractor with a cultivator. It does the exact same job, but it saves an unbelievable amount of time and labor.
So the soil is prepped and ready to go. Time to sow the seeds. But hold on, you can't just use any old seeds. You have to pick healthy ones if you want a good harvest. So how in the world do you tell the good seeds from the bad ones?
Well, it turns out there's this surprisingly simple but totally genius trick. When you put a bunch of seeds in water, the healthy, dense ones sink right to the bottom. But the damaged seeds? They're lighter, sometimes even hollow, so they just float on top. This lets farmers easily scoop them out and make sure they're only planting the good stuff. Pretty clever, right? And just like with plowing, the technology for sowing has come a long way. This machine here is called a seed drill. It's incredible. It plants the seeds at a perfectly uniform depth and distance from each other, and it even covers them back up with soil to protect them from hungry birds. It's all about precision and efficiency. So, the seeds are in the ground. Whew, job done, right? Not even close. Now the really long process begins. Nurturing those tiny plants, making sure they have absolutely everything they need to grow strong and thrive. You've probably seen this before, right? You'll see 2 fields right next to each other. One is lush and vibrant, full of healthy crops, and the other one just looks weak, kind of struggling. What makes that huge difference? A lot of the time, the answer is hiding in the soil's nutrients, which can get all used up crop after crop. To fix this, farmers add either manure or fertilizers. And as you can see from the chart, they're really quite different. Fertilizers are man-made in factories and are packed with specific nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Manure, on the other hand, is all natural and organic, and it's great for the overall long-term health of the soil.
And if you want to see the proof, check this out. This simple experiment makes it crystal clear. Cup C, with just plain soil, barely has any growth. Cup A, with manure, does a bit better. But look at Cup B, with fertilizer. The growth is way faster and stronger. It's a perfect visual of just how much these additives help. Of course, nutrients are one thing, but plants also need water. That's where irrigation comes in. On the left, you see a traditional system, where animals are used to literally pull water up from a well. It's incredibly labor-intensive. And on the right, drop at a time. It's unbelievably efficient and a total game-changer in areas where water is scarce.
All right, after months and months of preparing, planting, feeding, and watering, we finally reach the climax of the whole farming cycle. This is the moment all that hard work finally pays off. It is time for the harvest. And wow, the technological leap here is just massive. On the left, you see the traditional sickle, a tool that requires backbreaking manual labor for weeks on end. On the right, a modern combine harvester. This one single machine cuts the crop, threshes it to separate the grain, and then cleans it, all in one pass. It turns what used to take weeks of work into just a matter of hours.
The crop is harvested. But guess what? The journey isn't quite over yet. Getting the food out of the field is only half the battle. Now you have to protect it.
And this final step is so important. Storage. The harvested grain has to be kept safe from moisture, from insects, from rats, from microorganisms, anything that could spoil it. On a smaller scale, that might mean packing it in gunny bags inside granaries. But for really large-scale production, you need these massive silos. Proper storage is what guarantees we have a stable supply of food all year round.
So we started with a super simple question, why do we eat? And we ended up following this entire incredible modern agricultural journey. From tractors preparing the soil and that clever water trick for seeds, to nurturing plants with special nutrients, harvesting with giant combines, and storing grain in massive silos. So I guess I'll just leave you with this thought. The next time you sit down for a meal, what part of this amazing journey will you think about?